I guess kind of what I want to encompass tonight is the idea that both sides are looking at this wrong. It's become an overly politicized issue that really doesn't need to be politicized because everybody's talking about the differences and nobody's talking about what everybody agrees on. I think if we started where we agree, we can come to an understanding, make some compromises. But before we do that, we need to address that elephant, not the Republican elephant, but the elephant in the room that is the Second Amendment and the debate that always goes around that. So, as every gun owner probably already knows, I didn't write it down, and I forgot to bring in my Constitution.
Uh-oh.
I mean, I know it, I just don't want to get like one word wrong.
Yeah, don't get any words.
Okay,
wrong.
I'm going to try this, and then I'm going to test with a well-regulated militia being essential for the preservation of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
Impressive.
Well, I don't know if I'm exactly right, but
Let's see.
like I said, I know what it is, but a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Okay. I was close enough. So there's always this debate coming from the left that says, well, that applies to the militia. And it's like, okay, so let's turn on some Ben Shapiro here. Let's play their game. So first, let's define what militia actually means. Now, here's the funny thing. The definition has actually changed from when the Constitution was written to now.
There are many ones I've changed, but keep going.
So, in colonial America, when the Constitution was drafted, a militia, and this is the actual definition provided by the dictionaries at the time, a militia in colonial America, all able-bodied men of a certain age are members of the militia. Literally. You can go to an area, your state would have a militia, which basically consisted, it's kind of like how the Selective Service Act is now, except they'd be like, hey, we need you. Come on up. And depending on the state's laws, you may or may not be punished for not showing up. Or you might have exemptions, because obviously if you're not able-bodied, you're not expected to show up. But anyway, then they had the Militia Act of 1909 that strictly defines. There are actually two types of militias according to this law. There's the organized militia, which consists of state defense forces, National Guard, and naval militia. So basically the reserves and the National Guard. Those are the examples they've been. And then you have unorganized militia, which is every able-bodied man of at least 17 to 45 years that are not a member of an organized militia.
Holy shit, how many definitions are there?
Well, that's it. But then they had the Selective Service Act, which kind of made the militia a moot point because they could just institute a draft.
Right. Okay. Jeez.
So, when you're looking at the Second Amendment, you have to consider one of my favorite terms ever. You have to consider the Sitz im Leben, the situation in life at the time the document was written. So, if we take that definition, and not even getting into how the sentence is phrased, just looking at the definition of militia, the word militia pretty much means everybody who's a dude.
I'm a dude.
I mean, able-bodied men. He's a dude.
She's a dude. We're all dudes.
We're all dudes.
Hey, I am the Senate.
Okay, so now let's look at the other part. Which, shame on the founders because they phrase that sentence really, really weird. Because they bring up militia, but they don't actually finish the thought. It's actually a run-on sentence. It's like it's too.
What's up, Jason?
It's an incomplete thought coupled with a rule.
Yeah.
And everybody on, the gun control side, the pro-gun control side, gets stuck on the militia part. But let's do one of my favorite things, and let's take all the mention of militia out. Because it doesn't actually make a statement. It's an incomplete sentence. Because if you cut it in half, it's a well-regulated militia being necessary for the security of a free state. It's not even a sentence. It doesn't make sense on its own.
This does not make sense.
It's like, what about the militia? Fuck it. It doesn't matter. So let's look at the actual complete sentence. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Now, let's unpack that one. The right of the people. Now, again, some people on the left will make the case, and there's basis for this. They'll make the case that by people, they mean, adult white men. However, if we're looking, and there's a case for that. Historically, there's precedent. But let's move that aside for right now and look at it purely and how the document is written. Elsewhere in the Constitution, the phrase "the people," as it reads, pretty much everywhere else encompasses everyone. So the First Amendment, for example, and the Fourth Amendment and the Fifth Amendment all use the phrase "the people," and those rights apply to everyone. Nobody disputes that. In fact, our justice system is based on the Fourth and Fifth Amendments. Who the hell is calling me? Anyway.
Yeah, I had to explain that to someone tonight. The difference, they got amendments confused. Which a lot of people
It's easy to do.
Oh, yeah. It's not very hard at all.
But so my point here is, if the phrase "the people" everywhere else in the Constitution applies to everyone, then the Second Amendment is no different.
No.
Because it is just one of 26 amendments.
Yes.
And that's not even counting the rest of the Constitution. That's just the amendments. So if we look at it from that angle, it's pretty clear. Now we have to consider what constitutes arms. Well, arms is just another way of saying weapons, and people make the argument, well, yeah, but back in the day, they just had muskets. It's like, well, yeah, you've got a point. I don't think anybody at the time would have considered the possibility of the absolute death machines that exist, at the time and after of the First World War. The scale of the horror of that war was primarily because it was a mixture of old world tactics with new technology, and they did not go together. Back then it wasn't uncommon to literally just jump out the trench and run at people because the rate of fire just wasn't enough to overwhelm those kinds of numbers.
Yeah, because they shoot and they're.
Well, even a single action semi-automatic weapon, the rate of fire is nowhere near an automatic machine gun. It's just not there.
No.
But after the Battle of the Somme, we kind of found out, oh shit,
there's power.
This thing is.
Are you popular tonight or what?
No, the damn thing keeps vibrating, but there's no friggin'.
Oh, I turned that shit off.
Yeah, I know I should have, but anyway.
Your battery. So
yeah,
fast.
That's a good point. Anywho. So yeah, I'll give you that. There's an argument that can be made, but here's the thing. The legal precedent, at least in contract law, is that ambiguity in a piece of writing benefits the party that did not write it. So in this case, if you're using contract law as the standard, which this is probably a stretch, but if you treat the Constitution as a contract, then arms can literally mean whatever the fuck you want. If it's a weapon, you can have it. Now again, that's absurd.
Bear arms.
But to bear arms. So I think we... Do you remember that show? It only had one season, That's My Bush?
No.
It was... Okay, so it was a sitcom right after George W. had gotten elected.
Oh my gosh.
And to show you how old this argument is, and it was nothing new when George W. was first elected in 2001. There's an episode, and it's completely absurd, but it's a gun control episode. But a bear gets in the White House and takes a gun. It's hilarious. I've tried to find it on YouTube and I can't find it. But anyway, the bear starts unloading rounds. Now, obviously, he's not like aiming. It's a bear. But anyway, they subdue the bear. The bear gets back to the zoo or whatever, and then I think it's supposed to be Colin Powell, but I don't remember who it's supposed to be. But anyway, he's got the gun and he comes up to the president. He's like, "Well, I think this has taught us all a valuable lesson. What's that?" It's like, we absolutely have the right to bear arms, but nobody should have the right to arm bears.